when I acquired this car, the cheapest one in the country. So I decided I need to do a lot more work to get this thing ready to go. It makes a wonderful noise. These are one of my favorite Mercedes, really of all time, not even just a time period. Nothing makes you grin quite like that supercharger whine. Hey everyone, and welcome back to DC MotorWerks. My name is Cameron, and today in front of me we have my 2002 C32 AMG. And if you've been a longer viewer, you will know this car as Bordeaux from, I guess it's been a little over a year ago, maybe a little more now, when I acquired this car, the cheapest one in the country, of course. And it was leaking fuel, the fuel gauge didn't work, the supercharger was rattling, making all kind of noise, and it didn't really run all that well. And we didn't really take it that far in the first couple videos. I kind of just fixed the fuel leak and then just let it sit for a while. But a little over a month ago or so, actually I guess it's been a couple months, I'm not great with time, but Ed told me that there were a bunch of big birthdays from a bunch of our friends coming up this year, and he wanted to put together a road rally with cheap sports cars. So I knew this one was kind of in my arsenal of cars collecting dust in my lot, so I decided I need to do a lot more work to get this thing ready to go. And here you can see our actual 40th, 50th birthday extravaganza. This was kind of our itinerary, and if any of y'all are interested in doing this, I think Ed put something together to show the kind of the route. It's about a 900-mile loop from the Atlanta area, which we are in, and around into Alabama, up through Tennessee, down through Tail of the Dragon, and back here. So like I said, it's about 1,000 miles, but there you can see all of the different stops we did. We went to a bunch of different racetracks. We went to a few museums. It was an absolute epic road trip that I would recommend to anyone with their other car buddies. On the subject of the birthday bash, I gotta extend my greatest thanks to everyone involved for having me along. There was like 30 of us, but thanks most in part to Ed and Doug for putting this together and inviting us all along. Some new friends, some old friends, and some memories that will be unforgettable, and lots of car stories for years to come. But with that said, back to getting the car ready for this. Knowing it was going to go 1,000 miles, I had to do a lot more than I had originally planned to with this car. And I ended up changing the supercharger. Like I say, I did the wheels and tires. It's got C55 wheels on it. I ended up doing brakes, flex disc, engine mounts, transmission service. I did the radiator overflow tank. I did sway bar bushings, and basically made this thing almost mechanically perfect, because you don't want to be that guy that holds up the trip because your car broke down, even though the whole point was to drive cheap cars. And unfortunately, this was one of the cars that on Mid-Pond, which was the second racetrack we went to, I'll show you in a minute, there was a small little oil cooler hose that blew out on me, and it was not very fun to be out in the 90-degree heat changing that with a very hot engine, but we made it nonetheless. But other than that, it hasn't really changed much. You can still see some of its road rally-ness going on with the dirt and the dirt track, and lots of brake dust. It actually won the event on the kind of cryptic scoring that I guess Ed and some of the guys put together. And actually, Arnie had my other C32 that has been in our fleet for a long time. He called it Lil Ursula, or as I called this one, Bordeaux. And we got to kind of duke it out on the racetrack and stuff, and it was a lot of fun seeing that this one was just that tiny little bit faster than his, even though his had more modifications, so maybe a little driver skill there, who knows. Around the back, you can see we got all kinds of stickers and all kinds of fun stuff put on this one. Like I said, this is a C32 AMG, so this is the M112K. So as most people know and love is the M113K, the supercharged 5.4 liter V8 that was put in a lot of Mercedes models from this era. In just the C-Class and the SLK, they did the smaller 112K, which is the 6-cylinder variant of that motor, which is actually one of my favorite motors they have ever done. It is, and we'll get to kind of showcase that here in a moment, but let's go ahead and show you under the hood and show you kind of what I've done under there. So on the hood here, we've got displayed some of the stuff from the trip, like our ticket to the Barber Museum. We've got the shirts specific for this trip. Of course, you need a VinWiki Car Stories because we created a lot new car stories on this trip. And there's the kind of pamphlet from Highlands Motoring. Of course, we had to have a helmet, safety first, and lots of exciting stuff. But And of course, the all-important radar. I like the Unidens. We're not sponsored, but I like them. So if Uniden, if you want to sponsor us, I'll be happy to upgrade my R7 to whatever's the newest one. So of course, in cheap car fashion, you had to leave some things wrong, and the hood shocks are one of those things. But with Mercedes' lovely service position, you can keep that from knocking you in the head. And there it is, the M112K. And see, I've got some real fancy intakes there. It gives you a lot of blower noise, which we'll get to on our short little test drive we'll go on in a moment. But if cameraman can sneak in there, there was my offending oil cooler hose right there in the front of the motor, which technically you're supposed to remove the oil filter housing or the oil cooler in order to slide that hose on. But I made it work in the parking lot of Mid-Pond, and it was able to limp it the rest of the way with just topping off coolant every little once in a while. But it's a rough one. It spent a good bit of time in Hawaii, and the last odometer entry was like 197,000 miles, somewhere around there, a few years ago. But someone has swapped the cluster, so it just shows dashes on a Mercedes now because it's not programmed to the car with the VIN. But you can see my fender liner's missing, and you can see some rust bubbles kind of floating around, and you know, it is a rough car, but it does have its all-important grills in the bumper, which are pretty expensive and like to go missing. I put a smaller supercharger pulley on it, and actually I replaced the supercharger with a good used one because the snout of the supercharger was bent on the old one. I don't know if we showcased that in the old video, but if you spun the supercharger, you could see the pulley walking back and forth. So don't know how that happened, if it had a front-end accident or what, who knows, but we got one on there, and it has been wonderful. So let's go ahead and jump in and go for a ride. But before we jump to that, let's go ahead and look at some of the footage from the trip, because there was a plenty, and again, it was an absolute blast. In the interior of Bordeaux, and you can see it is a little tired in here, like I say, with over 200,000 miles. At least the best part is that this hasn't turned all gummy like a lot of them do, so it was comfortable. But steering wheel's kind of coming apart, steering wheel buttons are peeling, kind of the standard stuff. I have no glove box. The lid is broken, so we just have a open glove shelf. We'll call it a glove shelf. But we got this sweet Alcantara suede headliner, which was super nice to see. And we have air conditioning on the theme of I fixed way too much for a cheap car challenge. But then I get the labor qualifier that I don't have to count my own labor in the cost of this. But I had to have the air conditioning because it is quite hot here in the southeast. So these C32s were no slouch back in the day when they were new. So factory rated at 349 horsepower. They were more torque than their main competitor, which was the M3 at the time, which was made 333 horsepower out of its S54 inline six. But these are really a true performer, especially with the supercharger. Just the instant power and throttle response. It makes a wonderful noise. This one just has a factory muffler. Everything else is pretty straight through, so makes a lot more noise than a stock one would. And with the pulley and tune that is on this one, I think it's supposed to be in the low 400s horsepower range, which on a 3,500 pound car is nothing to scoff at, and it is quite strong. And that, plus being in the small C-Class chassis with the rack and pinion steering, these are one of my favorite Mercedes, really of all time, not even just the time period, because they really are a driver's car, more of what they were really trying to attack BMW with their ultimate driving machine. And I like these better than those cars, and especially because they're more reliable. They have the near bulletproof 112 powertrain with the .6 transmission, which I think was kind of the only kind of killer of these cars, with not being as appreciated as the BMW. It's because you couldn't row your own gears. But as you've seen in some of our other videos, maybe one up there, is that we can fix that and manual swap one of these for you and really make it a true driver's sports car. So we're gonna do our old big Motown turnaround here and let y'all get a listen to this thing. Nothing makes you grin quite like that supercharger whine. And it just pulls harder throughout the entire rev range. Super rev happy, lots of power everywhere, tons of torque, really just an amazing powertrain. And with AMG's fiddling of the transmission, it is a lot better than a normal .6 5-speed. So if you see kind of while we're riding around that the fuel gauge is stuck on 0, and that was I found out quickly on this trip what was wrong there, and the fuel pumps were puking right before I left. So I pulled them out and realized that it had aftermarket fuel pumps in it and that the fuel gauge didn't work. And I kind of botched it all together just to make the trip. And I soon found out that out of the 16.4 gallon tank in this car, I got a useful 11 gallons before sputtering out of gas on the freeway. So lots of hand calculating on this trip in order to not run out of gas again. And it's just because of the setup on those aftermarket pumps that it wouldn't suck all the fuel out of the bottom of the tank. And not a fun thing to do on this trip, but again, we made it work. So there you go, that is my 2002 C32 AMG, also known as Bordeaux, but it has come time with my 11 cars, and I've trimmed down a bunch, but this one is on the chopping block. And actually, one of the Mercedes-Benz Club local guys has decided he wants it for a track car, because he is the high-performance driving instructor for one of the Porsche clubs and the Mercedes Club, and he likes inexpensive cars just like this, and this one is track proven, so that one will be going to him soon. But if you're looking for something super fun and exciting for 400 horsepower for a really nice one's $7,000 to $9,000. So really, again, what we like to say, an automotive enthusiast cheat code to get something that handles well, looks good, comfortable, fast. It has a lot of things in this small little C-Class package, and that's what makes it one of my favorite Mercedes of all time. But if you like what you see here at DC, make sure you hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that bell icon so you make sure you don't miss anything of the exciting stuff we have here at DC. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video.